Hello and welcome to Quantum Connections. I'm your host Terry. Today we're diving into a fascinating journey that could change how you see reality forever. The quantum creator's journey. We'll be exploring how our thoughts and intentions might actually create parallel timelines and how we can potentially shift between these realities.
I'm so excited to be here, Terry. I'm Dr. Patrick Bateman, quantum physicist and consciousness researcher. For the past decade, I've been studying the intersection between quantum mechanics and human perception at the Institute for Consciousness Studies.
We're incredibly lucky to have you with us today, Dr. Bateman. Your work has really opened up new perspectives on how our minds might interact with reality at the quantum level.
Thank you. What fascinates me most is how accessible these concepts can be. You don't need a physics degree to understand how your intentions and emotions might be shaping your reality.
That's exactly why I'm thrilled about today's episode. We'll be covering everything from understanding parallel timelines to practical visualization techniques, emotional resonance, and even how to overcome fear and resistance when working with these concepts.
And we'll keep it simple and practical for listeners just beginning to explore these ideas. Ready to dive in?
Let's start at the beginning. Dr. Bateman, could you explain what we mean by parallel timelines in simple terms for our listeners who might be new to this concept?
Absolutely, Terry. Think of it this way. Have you ever wondered, what if I had taken that job? Or what if I had moved to that city? In quantum physics, there's evidence suggesting that these what-ifs actually exist as alternate realities running alongside our own.
So you're saying that every choice we make potentially creates a different timeline?
Exactly. It stems from quantum superposition, the idea that particles can exist in multiple states until observed. On a larger scale, this suggests our reality isn't fixed, but rather one possibility among many. Every decision point creates branches of possibility, and what we experience is just one path through this infinite web.
That's mind-bending. So how do our thoughts and intentions fit into this picture?
Well, consciousness may be the observer in quantum mechanics. When we focus our attention and intention strongly on specific outcomes, we might actually be selecting which timeline we experience. It's less about creating something from nothing, and more about choosing which already existing reality we align with.
Dr. Bateman, we've talked about parallel timelines, but can you break down the actual science behind reality shifts? Is there real evidence from physics that supports this idea?
Great question, Terry. At its core, this connects to quantum mechanics, specifically the double-slit experiment, where particles behave differently when observed. This suggests consciousness influences reality at a fundamental level.
So that's why some people say we're collapsing wave functions with our attention.
Exactly. Think of it like tuning a radio. All stations exist simultaneously, but you can only hear the one you're tuned to. Similarly, your focus and emotional state act as your reality tuner. Your brain actually has neural networks that filter the enormous amount of information around you, letting in only what matches your beliefs and expectations.
That's fascinating. So our brains are literally filtering reality based on what we expect to see?
Yes. Scientists estimate we filter out about 99.9% of available sensory information. By changing our focus and emotional state, we might actually be tuning into different available realities. And research in neuroplasticity shows our brains physically rewire based on what we repeatedly focus on.
Dr. Bateman, we've covered the theory, but now let's talk about intention. How exactly does our intention help us navigate these parallel timelines?
Intention is really the steering wheel of reality, Terry. When you set a clear intention, you're essentially telling the quantum field which timeline you want to experience. It's like programming your GPS to a specific destination.
So intention is more than just positive thinking?
Much more. Intention combines clear thought with emotional energy. Think of your thoughts as the address you're entering, and your emotions as the fuel that powers the journey. The stronger and clearer both are, the more direct your path to that reality.
That makes sense. Do you have a simple exercise our listeners could try?
Absolutely. Start by getting quiet and visualizing something you want as if it's already happening. Feel the emotions you'd feel if it were real. Do this for just 5 minutes daily. This isn't magic. It's training your brain to recognize and move toward opportunities aligned with that reality.
I love how practical that is. Anyone could start today. Dr. Bateman, we've talked about intention, but there seems to be an emotional component to all this as well. Can you explain how our emotions actually impact our reality shifting?
Absolutely, Terry. Emotions are essentially energy in motion. Emotion. They're the fuel that powers our intentions. Think of it like this. Your thoughts are like typing a destination into GPS, but your emotions are the gas that actually gets you there.
That's such a helpful analogy. So how can someone harness their emotions effectively?
The key is feeling the emotions of your desired reality now, not waiting until it manifests. Your brain doesn't know the difference between vividly imagined emotions and real ones. When you feel gratitude, joy, or excitement as if your desire is already here, you're literally matching the energy frequency of that reality.
But what about negative emotions? Don't they create realities too?
They absolutely do, and that's why emotional awareness is so important. Fear, worry, and doubt will pull you toward timelines matching those frequencies. But here's the good news. Even a few minutes of genuine positive emotion can override hours of negative thinking. It's about quality, not quantity.
Dr. Bateman, we've talked about intention and emotion, but visualization seems to be a crucial part of this process. Could you explain how someone can effectively visualize their desired reality?
Visualization is like creating a blueprint for your quantum journey, Terry. Our brains process imagined experiences similarly to real ones, creating neural pathways that make that reality more accessible.
So how would someone start if they've never tried visualization before?
Start with something simple. Close your eyes and imagine yourself in a peaceful place, maybe a beach or forest. Notice the details. Sounds, smells, textures. This trains your visualization muscles. Then gradually work up to seeing yourself having already achieved what you want.
What about people who say they can't see images in their mind?
Great point. Not everyone visualizes visually. Some people feel sensations, hear sounds, or just have a knowing. The key is engaging any sense that works for you. Try asking, how would it feel in my body if this were already true? That works for almost everyone.
That's so helpful for making this accessible to everyone. Dr. Bateman, we've covered so many practical elements, but I think we need to address something fundamental. Our beliefs. How do our core beliefs affect our ability to shift timelines?
Terry, you've hit on perhaps the most crucial element. Our beliefs act as filters that either allow or block our ability to experience different realities. If you deeply believe something is impossible, you've created an energetic barrier that prevents you from accessing that timeline.
So what can listeners do if they discover limiting beliefs about what's possible for them?
First, become aware of them. Notice thoughts like, I could never have that, or that only happens to other people. Then question those beliefs. Where did they come from? Are they actually true? Finally, create new, expanded beliefs through affirmations and evidence gathering.
Could you share a simple exercise for our listeners?
Absolutely. Each morning ask yourself, what would I do today if I truly believed anything was possible? Then take one small action from that mindset. This gradually rewires your belief system and opens doorways to new timelines that were previously invisible to you.
Dr. Bateman, I'm curious about this specific technique I've heard about, the quantum jump. Can you break down this visualization technique for our listeners who might want to try it?
I'd love to, Terry. The quantum jump is actually one of my favorite practical tools. It's a simple visualization that helps you consciously shift into a parallel timeline where your desires already exist.
How would someone actually perform this technique?
Find a quiet space and close your eyes. First, clearly visualize what you want as if it's already happened. Then imagine a version of yourself who already has this reality. Notice how they look, feel, and behave. Here's the key part. Imagine a beam of light surrounding this version of you, and see yourself physically stepping into this light and merging with your future self.
That's fascinating. And how often should people practice this?
Just 5 to 10 minutes daily makes a tremendous difference. Remember, you're not creating something from nothing. You're simply aligning with a version of reality that already exists. The emotional component is crucial, though. Really feel what it would be like to be that version of yourself.
Dr. Bateman, we've covered so many techniques, but I'm curious about this idea of quick shifts. Is there a way to speed up the process of moving between timelines?
Absolutely, Terry. The secret to rapid reality shifts is emotional amplification. Emotions aren't just feelings. They're energy in motion that can dramatically accelerate your timeline shifts.
That's fascinating. How exactly do emotions speed things up?
Think of emotions as the rocket fuel for your intentions. When you intentionally amplify positive emotions like joy, gratitude, or excitement about your desired reality, you create a stronger resonance with that timeline. A 5-minute burst of intense positive emotion can do more than hours of intellectual visualization.
Could you give our listeners a simple exercise to try this?
Here's a powerful one. Close your eyes and recall a time when you felt absolute joy or success. Really relive it in your body. Once that emotion is flowing strongly, immediately direct it toward your desired reality. Imagine that same feeling attached to what you want to create. Do this for just 2 minutes daily, and you'll notice shifts happening much faster.
I love how simple yet powerful that is. Dr. Bateman, we've explored many aspects of reality shifting, but I'm curious about anchoring techniques. How can people make these shifts more permanent in their daily lives?
That's such an important question, Terry. Anchoring is like creating a shortcut to your desired timeline. It's a way to consistently return to that frequency when everyday life pulls you off course.
Could you give us a simple example of how that works?
Absolutely. One effective anchoring technique is creating a physical gesture, like pressing your thumb and forefinger together. First, get into a deeply relaxed state. and fully visualize your desired reality. When you're feeling those positive emotions intensely, press your fingers together. After practicing this several times, that simple gesture becomes a trigger that can instantly bring you back to that state.
So it's like training your brain to associate that gesture with that specific reality.
Exactly. Your brain creates a neurological pathway, connecting the physical action to the emotional state. You can also use objects in your environment as anchors. A special stone in your pocket, or a photo on your desk. Whenever you notice them, use that moment to realign with your desired timeline.
I love how practical these techniques are. Anyone could start using them today. Dr. Bateman, we've explored so many fascinating techniques, but I'm hearing a lot about quantum journaling lately. Could you explain how writing might help with reality shifting?
Absolutely, Terry. Quantum journaling is one of the most powerful yet accessible tools for shifting timelines. When you write as if your desired reality is already happening, you're essentially giving your brain detailed instructions about what to look for and create.
What makes writing particularly effective compared to just thinking about what we want?
The physical act of writing engages multiple parts of your brain simultaneously. It combines visualization, emotion, and physical movement, creating stronger neural pathways. Plus, it bypasses the mental resistance that often pops up during visualization alone.
So how would someone start with quantum journaling if they've never tried it?
Start by dating your entry 1 year in the future. Then write in present tense about the amazing things happening in your life, as if they're already real. Include sensory details and emotions. The key is consistency. Even just 3 minutes daily creates a powerful energetic blueprint that helps align you with that reality.
Dr. Bateman, we've explored so many powerful techniques, but there's one fundamental tool we haven't addressed. Our breath. How does breathing connect to this quantum reality work?
Terry, breathing is perhaps the most accessible gateway to shifting our energy. It's the one tool we always have with us. When we breathe consciously, we're literally changing our physiological state, which directly impacts our energetic resonance.
I've never thought about breath as an actual reality-shifting tool before.
Most people don't, but think about it. Your breath connects your conscious and unconscious mind. When you're anxious, your breathing is shallow and rapid. When you're calm, it's deep and slow. By intentionally changing your breath pattern, you can actually shift which timeline you're resonating with.
Could you share a simple breathing technique our listeners could use right now?
Absolutely. Try this 4-7-8 breath. Inhale quietly through your nose for 4 counts. Hold your breath for 7 counts. Then exhale completely through your mouth for 8 counts. As you do this, imagine breathing in the energy of your desired reality and breathing out anything that doesn't match it. Just 3 cycles can significantly shift your vibrational state.
Wow, I can actually feel the difference just from trying that once. Dr. Bateman, we've explored so many fascinating techniques throughout our conversation, but one question remains. How do people integrate these reality shifts into their everyday lives? It's one thing to practice during a meditation session, but what about when you're stuck in traffic or dealing with a difficult coworker?
That's really the million-dollar question, Terry. Integration is where the magic happens. The key is creating simple micro-practices that fit into your existing routine. For instance, every time you wash your hands, you could say to yourself, I'm washing away the old timeline and stepping into my desired reality.
I love how practical that is. Are there other everyday moments we can use?
Absolutely. Doorways are perfect metaphors for timeline shifts. Each time you walk through a doorway, imagine you're stepping into your desired reality, and red traffic lights can become 30-second opportunities to take 3 deep breaths and realign your energy. The beauty is that these moments happen naturally throughout your day.
These are so simple, even the busiest person could use them. What about dealing with setbacks when things don't seem to be shifting?
Remember that challenges are simply feedback, not failure. When things don't go as planned, ask yourself, what reality am I aligned with right now? Then consciously choose to shift your focus back to your desired outcome. Consistency matters more than perfection.
Dr. Bateman, we've covered so many incredible techniques, but I think we need to address something that might be holding our listeners back: fear and resistance. Many people might feel skeptical or even afraid to fully embrace these quantum concepts.
That's absolutely natural, Terry. The human brain is designed to keep us safe, which often means sticking with the familiar. When we start exploring quantum reality creation, our logical mind can throw up all kinds of resistance.
What are some common forms this resistance takes?
The most common is simply disbelief. This can't possibly work. Then there's fear. What if I create something harmful? And perhaps most subtly, there's unworthiness. Who am I to create my ideal reality?
So how can listeners work through these blocks?
Start small. Don't try to manifest a mansion if you don't believe it's possible. Begin with something believable, but still exciting. Maybe a great parking spot, or an unexpected compliment. Each small success builds your confidence. And remember, resistance itself is just information. When you feel it, Simply notice it without judgment and gently redirect your focus back to possibility.
That's so helpful for making this accessible to everyone, regardless of where they're starting from. Dr. Bateman, we've discussed visualization, emotions, and all these internal approaches to reality shifting. But what about action? Do we still need to take physical steps in the external world?
That's such an important question, Terry. Inspired action is actually the bridge between quantum intentions and physical manifestation. It's not about forcing things to happen through sheer willpower. It's about following the intuitive nudges that arise after you've aligned with a new timeline.
So how can people distinguish between regular action and inspired action?
Inspired action feels effortless and exciting. When you're aligned with your desired timeline, you'll notice opportunities that weren't visible before. You might suddenly feel compelled to call someone, explore a new location, or try something different. These impulses are actually your intuition guiding you along the fastest path to your desired reality.
That makes so much sense. So after all this internal work, the external actions become more efficient.
Exactly. When you're aligned internally, you might accomplish in one inspired action what would have taken 50 forced actions. The key is maintaining that aligned state and then responding to the natural impulses that arise. It's less about making things happen and more about allowing them to unfold through you.
Dr. Bateman, we've covered so much ground in our conversation about quantum reality creation. As we wrap up, I'd love to talk about what might be the most empowering concept of all, embracing our infinite potential. What does this really mean for the average person?
Terry, this is where everything comes together. Embracing your infinite potential means recognizing that you're not just a passive observer in life, you're actively creating it. Each of us exists across multiple timelines simultaneously, and we're constantly choosing which ones we experience.
That's such a liberating perspective. So how can someone really internalize this idea?
It starts with a simple daily practice. Each morning, take just 2 minutes to say to yourself, "Today, I choose the reality that serves my highest good." This creates an intention filter that helps you navigate toward positive timelines throughout your day. Remember, you're not creating something from nothing. You're simply choosing which already existing reality to experience.
And I imagine this becomes more natural with practice.
Exactly. It's like learning any new skill. At first, it requires conscious effort, but eventually it becomes second nature. The most beautiful part is that as you embrace your infinite potential, you naturally inspire others to do the same. You become a living example of what's possible.
Well, we've covered so much ground on our quantum journey today. We've explored parallel timelines, the science behind reality shifts, the power of intention, emotional resonance, visualization techniques, belief alignment, and so many practical tools. Dr. Bateman, what would you say are the key takeaways for our listeners just beginning their journey as quantum creators?
First, remember that you're already creating your reality. The question is whether you're doing it consciously or unconsciously. Second, start small and build your confidence through daily practice of these techniques. And finally, be gentle with yourself. This is a skill like any other that develops over time.
Those are wonderful points. Any final words of encouragement for our listeners?
Yes, you don't need special abilities to do this work. Your consciousness is already interacting with reality in profound ways. These techniques simply help you direct that power with intention, rather than by default.
Before we wrap up, I ask all my guests one simple question. What's the single most important practice that changed your life on this quantum journey?
Daily gratitude for the reality I'm experiencing now, while simultaneously feeling joy for the reality I'm stepping into. That combination is absolute magic.
Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us today. Until next time, keep creating your quantum reality.